This is something kind of based off of the reticular activating system in the brain, which controls selective attention. Are you familiar kind of with selective attention? It's this concept where like, if you've ever like bought in a certain brand or type of shoe and then like you start to see it everywhere, you start to like notice like so many other, like, how did I not notice like everyone's wearing Ons these days? Like I've been a huge fan of On running shoes for like 3 or 4 years, but I feel like everyone's wearing On running shoes these days. And it's like, so I noticed them. Are they actually any more prevalent than Nikes or Adidas? I don't think so, but because they're unique to me, because I put them on my feet every single day, I notice when other people have them, right? That's a function of selective attention, right? Our brain, based on the things that we give it, we start to see it a little bit more in the world. Well, that's true for things like humor. If we train ourselves to start looking for humor, we actually start to see it more, right? Because it's not that funny things happen to funny people. It's that funny people see the things that happen to them in a funny way. And so one of the big techniques to be a better enthusiast or become more of an enthusiast is to keep what we call a humor notebook. Or if you already do like any type of journaling or diary stuff each day, to have some type of component of like, what made me laugh today? Or what did I find funny today? Or what was really interesting? And if you start to do that, one, you can remember the funny stuff so that if later, like a week from now, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm getting ready to go out with my friends and they're going to ask me, what have I been up to? What have I been up to? It's like, oh, that's right. Like yesterday I went to this store and this crazy thing happened to me in the grocery store. Like, oh, I can tell them that is a story. So it helps you remember things. But two, it starts to change what you see. You start to see more and more out of like almost anything that happens to you. You're like, oh, okay, there's probably some humor in that.
Yeah, you're training your brain. Exactly. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. And so there's writing exercises that we sometimes do with that. And so one exercise, and you kind of maybe just improvise this. I think you've got the skill set to do it. Like what are some things that you just like love? What are some things that you just really enjoy?
I love playing piano, guitar, climbing mountains, going for walks, cuddling my girlfriend. Those are some things.
All right, I like it. And how long have you been playing piano and guitar?
I think guitar for 5 years, piano for 4 years or something. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very nice. And is there a particular song that you like? If someone was like, "Hey, here's a piano, wow us."
Yeah. So the thing is that I play basically only my own things.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that's useful now for this, but I don't really play other people's songs. I just play my own things.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. Right. I mean, why? Yeah. It's harder to learn other people's stuff. Like you have a right and wrong way of doing this song. If I make up my own, it's how I decide to do it. That's why I did musical improv for a long time versus like, I would much rather improvise a song that no one's ever heard of before than do karaoke. Because there are expectations in terms of what a song is supposed to sound like in karaoke, whereas improvised musical, it's kind of like, well, people know that you're making it up, and also it's whatever I want it to be at this point.
Exactly.
Right? But even just this concept, right, as an enthusiast, if you start to then think a little bit more about like, okay, what is it about piano? Why do I like it? How does it bring me joy? If it does bring you joy, then one, being more intentional about it to say like, hey, whenever I'm feeling really stressed, let me make sure that I can get a 10-minute piano break in. Or I'm just going to schedule. I know that my hardest meeting is Tuesdays at 3 p.m. So I'm going to put on my calendar Tuesday night when I get home, the first thing that I'm going to do is play piano for 15 minutes, right? To say like, I know this stressful thing is going to happen. I know this thing de-stresses me. Now I'm much more intentional about that enthusiasm, the thing that brings me joy in my life. But also from that, you also might start to develop material. This is where it can feed into some of the other personas where you might say, okay, like, all right, well, piano, there's actually a lot of metaphors. So maybe I'm giving a presentation at work. Could I give a metaphor about how this project that I'm working on is kind of like learning the piano? Then what that does is one, when you start talking about piano, because it's something you're already naturally passionate about, you're going to be more passionate in your presentation because you get to talk about something you care about. Where this project you might be like so on, but you're like, I love piano. And so like, hey, I was just playing this thing, etc. And I realized there's a lot of parallels. And then, hey, you know, so just like you've got to learn chords in this project, we've got to learn blank. And it's kind of like this song and that song or whatever. Like now for the audience, it's also more engaging because they're like, I thought he was going to talk about some spreadsheet. Now he's talking about piano. That's kind of interesting. If you even then brought in a piano and played like, hey, here's a short piece, like you could go even like more extreme, depending on the project, etc. You may not be able to do that. But it's now making things more interesting. And that's what an enthusiast can be really good at. Is not only is it finding more things that they enjoy, but also be more intentional about how can I take the things that I do enjoy and combine it with the other stuff that I have to do.
That's good. It's also a lot more personal, right?
Oh, for sure. Now you become like, oh, hey, I know this thing about you is that you like to play, like rather than you just being this random cog in the machine of a project manager that sends me these emails that I have to delete all the time. It's like, oh, wait, no, that person's like an actual human and they like piano. And if you like piano as well, you've now got a connection. Or maybe they really like, maybe they're not a piano person, but they really love saxophone or what. Now music becomes a more broad thing that they can come and talk to you about as a human, as opposed to just a coworker.